Ako ang pilit pinatatahimik, sinusupil, ginigipit. Ngunit bali-baliktarin man ako, palitan ng anyo, ibaon, itago. Hindi ako maglalaho. Hindi ako tatahimik. Pagkat ako ang nagpapalaya. Ang ingay sa katahimikan. Ang liwanag sa kadiliman. Ako ang katotohanan.
The Jesuit Hour. Get to know the Jesuits. Discover their spirituality, their history, their ministries. The Jesuit Hour. Anything Jesuit, everything Jesuit. The Jesuit Hour.
Okay, good morning mga katipuneros. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. It's Wednesday. Welcome to our show here at Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM. This is the Jesuit Hour and I'm your host, Father Nono Alfonso SJ. Please don't be distracted by the handsome faces you are seeing now on your screen. Naks. Okay, so I will introduce them in a while, but let's begin our program, our session with a prayer. Today is the feast day of the guardian angels. Okay, so in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Angel of God, my guardian dear, to whom His love commits me here, ever this day be at my side, to light and guard, to rule and guide. Amen. In the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Oh, hindi mo na memorize yun, no?
Memorize ko na yan.
Okay, my dear friends. So, we are so fortunate, we are so blessed today because as advertised, we have two of the 8 or 9? Nine soon to be ordained deacons on October 26, 8:30 a.m. at the Church of the Jesuit. They are Jesuit scholastics. One is from the Philippines and one is from Vietnam. Let me introduce our deacons to be. My dear friends, on my left, closest to me is Reverend Nava. Reverend
Not yet. Reverend-elect.
Reverend-elect. Okay, so Brother Robbie Paraan, SJ.
Hello, good morning. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so Brother Robbie, baka may babatiin ka mga tagahanga mo.
My classmates in adults, hello.
Hello, yes. And of course, from Vietnam, but studying here at LST and is residing at the Arupa International Residence, Brother Peter Tran Hoan Chinh, SJ.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. It's still morning.
Good morning. Just
Okay, so they just came from their ad-outs class, my dear friends. So some nerves.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
So Brother Robbie, Brother Peter, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. So first of all, for our viewers or listeners, what is a deacon? What is a deacon? This is comprehensive exam. What's a deacon? Come on.
It's the first, what do you call this? In the Catholic Church, you have holy orders, and it's the first order.
Okay.
The fullness, of course, of the holy orders is in the bishop.
Yes. Wow.
I don't know if the Chin wants to become a bishop. But Jesuits are discouraged from that.
Yes.
And many of us really, as our goal is really to be ordained priests. But in the church, before you're ordained priest, you're also ordained deacon.
Deacon.
So it depends how long after being ordained a deacon are you ordained a priest. But I think there are transitional deacons and permanent deacons.
Wow.
I did research because I had to explain to everyone. And in the Philippines, I don't know if Vietnam if you have permanent deacons.
We don't have.
You don't have also. In the Philippines, we have transitional deacons in a sense that you're a deacon in as a stage, I guess, in before becoming a priest. And maybe you can share about what are the things a deacon does.
Yes. You can already perform several sacraments, right?
Actually, in the history of the church,
Wow, history! This will take some.
deacons appear very early in the early church, and their task was to have the apostles and other minister of the church, and later on, diaconate became transitional things
To the priesthood.
to the priesthood.
Yeah.
And for me, the main task of a deacon is to proclaim the word of the Lord and then saying homily. So I am so lucky since I already enrolled to study with you the course, the ministry of the word. So I'm ready to say homily.
It's not lucky.
Lucky.
Okay.
I'm blessed.
So what else? So preach the word of God.
And also celebrating baptisms and also blessing houses.
Of course.
Yeah.
Also a rite of marriage.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Outside of the Eucharist.
yes.
Because that's only for priests.
Yeah, so you can already marry couples. Wow. Okay, so thank you for the explanation and the historical background. Yeah, I think the first time this was mentioned was, in the Acts of the Apostles, right? Stephen was, not Stephen, but Peter, the apostles appointed deacons.
Yeah.
Okay, so to administer, yes. Okay, so Brother Robbie, Brother Peter, so when you heard the news, how did you feel? When you heard the news that you were approved for the ordination to the diaconate, how did you feel?
For me, it wasn't just announced over email or a call. We actually met with the provincial or superior, and then it was an hour-long conversation. And at the very beginning, he laid out his decision that I am approving you for diaconate.
Did you cry?
No, I didn't cry. Actually, I didn't feel too many emotions. We knew when we were being called by the bishop, by the provincial, that there was a important announcement. But I think for me, it's more of
So it was a one-on-one, face-to-face.
yeah.
Okay.
And he explained later on. We talked about what the feedback, because we have to go through a process of evaluation.
Okay.
He talked about the feedback and also of course the positive feedback, but the rooms for improvement. And for me, it's really just a sense of gratitude, not only for the announcement or the approval, but the sense of gratitude for the long journey. Because we, as Jesuits, we study and train for 11, 12 years. So just to be able to say, finally, you come to this point. And really, for me, right now, it's not so much excitement, but a certain anticipation for something that I've never received. We haven't received.
Okay. What about you, Peter? Was it the same way? You were told by your superior, one-on-one, face-to-face?
Have you been approved?
Actually, the process is the same.
The same.
But for me, I was the last person who received the news in the group. And people said the longer you wait for something, the more you appreciate it when the thing finally arrives.
Yes.
So, to be honest, at that time I felt very happy, and then because I was studying in a study room of my community, and then I run to a nearby chapel, and then I pray to thank the Lord for this
Very simple.
invitation.
Not like Robbie. He played basketball right away.
Yeah, so I really feel blessed and happy for this invitation to be a deacon to serve the Lord and His church. Yeah.
But it was your rector here at Arupe that broke the news for you.
Actually, my rector is Father Rio, and he's the one who emailed me that congratulations, I already received the ministerial letter from your provincial.
Oh,
Yeah.
so it's the decision of the provincial,
Yeah.
not Father Rio. Well, of course, he had recommended you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so perhaps we can talk about you talked about your journey, Brother Robbie. No, just give us a glimpse of your vocation story. Wow, I'm sure you're so used.
Attracted.
Yes. How did it start for you?
Well, if I could really, of course, it's very difficult. But if I could pinpoint where it began in a silent retreat. I was part of Christian Life Community when I was in
CLC.
college, and then I went on a retreat, and I think it was just a very an experience of I was being directed by a Jesuit. Every day I would meet with him. And then,
Was this the retreat before graduation?
no, not even. I was in first year college.
Oh, wow.
So it was part of our activities as a CLC. And then I just looked at him and I said, I really want what he's doing, because I think my own experience then was the Lord was very palpable, was very real.
That time.
And the director helped me see how much the Lord was real in my life. And I said, what a blessing that is, not to help people go to God.
Yeah.
And that started everything. It wasn't like I knew I wanted to become a Jesuit. I wanted to become a priest. Actually, recently I've come to realize that I wanted to be a Jesuit first before becoming a priest. And that's why being a deacon is rather strange, because for me it's a continuation into a Jesuit vocation, a deepening. So I went through college in the normal way, and then I worked for a bank for 3 years.
Oh, wow.
I would say that it was just very strong. No? It became very strong when at some point I wasn't saving up for anyone anymore, because I was helping out her family, and my sister was still studying. But at some point she graduated, and I realized I don't want to keep on working just for myself. I think the element of wanting to help others was very strong, and that's why I began entertaining it again and entered.
Anong batch mo ba sa atin? Many of our viewers are
2005.
alumni. Okay,
2005,
2005.
some years ago.
Are you a true blue? Grade school to college.
Grade school to college, and now I live on campus.
Yes. Okay. Okay, so that's briefly the vocation story of Brother Robbie. We have follow-up questions, of course. Pwede po kayo magtanong. But Brother Peter, what about you? How did it start for you, the vocation?
For me, my vocation came from a very ordinary way. Through my family, because I was born and grew up in a quite devout Catholic family, and my grandparents, they influenced me very much in my faith. They really taught me about faith, and through their ways of chanting traditional songs or
Wow.
Catholic hymns, and
So they're already Catholics.
yeah.
Okay.
And then they usually brought me to the church, joining masses or other celebrations. So through their ways of living their faith, I was moved by their samples. And later on in my parish, samples from other parish priests and nuns also inspired me to think about the possibility of discerning my vocation to be religious.
Are you the youngest in the family or
Actually, we have 4 boys. I'm the third one.
third one? Okay.
So my parents used to make joke that it's no problem if you become a religious because we have another 3 boys.
They have reserva. Okay, so but I ask you that question, or were they already Catholics? Because of course you come from a communist country.
Yeah.
Vietnam is still communist, right?
Yeah.
So and yet you're saying that they're able to worship. They were baptized as Catholics.
Yeah.
How is the situation of the Catholic Church in Vietnam?
The situation now is improved very much because the relationship between the Vietnamese government and the Vatican is becoming better since we already have the representative of the Vatican in Vietnam. He's not a nuncio, but he can freely visit many places in the country. And actually, we have no problem with practicing our religion, but the process of making dialogues is still going on, and we want to have a mutual understanding so that we can contribute more in education and other social works.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question later on, but Brother Ruby, when you decided to think about this vocation more seriously, what was the reaction of your family? Did they approve?
We were raised not really. I think we were raised to do what we wanted.
Okay.
I think that's the general environment at home. And so, in a sense, approval or disapproval was not really
Oh, really?
a major factor. I think it's more of they let me be, but I knew I knew it was heavy for them because growing up, my parents separated. So growing up, I was the only boy at home. I have 2 sisters and then my mom. And so I think it was
You were the man of the house, yeah.
So, and I was already, I think, quite successful with my work. It was a huge adjustment, and to be fair to them, I don't think I was open from the very beginning. I think they learned that I was serious about it only when I was about to enter a pre-novitiate or a candidacy house.
Okay.
So I think it came as a shock.
Yeah.
So it took years for them to really adjust to that. By now, I hope, and no, really, I think they've adjusted. But it's not so much that they didn't approve, but it was a difficult transition.
What about for you? Was it difficult giving up your career? You said it was already, you were successful already, and then your family, of course, leaving your family.
Honestly, it's the family. It's not so much the career. I think that very clearly I didn't want to work in a bank for the rest of my life. So it's more of the family, more of and not just my immediate family. The Philippines, I think also in Vietnam now you also have a relative
Extended family. Yeah.
And I think that was difficult. Even up to now, there's a certain attachment to them.
Yeah.
So it's more family, it's more friends that you have to leave behind. But I've realized, and I'm sure both of you have also seen that I feel much closer now to my family.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's the irony, right?
Yeah.
I learned that early on in the novitiate. No, there's so much drama about leaving your family, but then they will visit you, visiting Sunday anyway. So,
And everyone's there.
Yes.
The more important people in your
Yeah.
life, and you get to have quality conversations.
Yeah. So eventually, it's like you never left home. Okay. What about you, Peter, brother Peter? When you decided to enter the society, join the Jesuits, was it difficult for you to say goodbye to your family?
In my culture, people very much respect those who are in religious life,
Oh, really?
either in Buddhism or Catholicism. So for me, my family members, they support me to follow my vocation. But when I was in before being called to enter the pre-novitiate house, my two elder brothers, they didn't stay together with my mother. Only my youngest brother, but he was called to join the military service.
Oh,
So at that time, and only my mom was there alone.
Oh, wow.
So I was scared because the thinking that who will take care of my
her.
mom. So I came to talk with my director of vocation and expressing that, Father, may I postpone 1 year so that I can be with my mother, and then when my younger brother came back, I can continue. But after a very beautiful conversation, he advised me that he asked me this question: don't you think that your mother will feel happy if you stop your dream?
Beautiful question.
Because as a mother, she will totally support your dream.
Yes.
Can you try to call her and talk with her? And then I called her and I talked, and actually she said exactly the same thing. So I felt more encouraged to continue my journey.
Wow. Who is that priest? Very good spiritual director. Asking the right questions. Okay, so you continued.
Yeah.
But I have a question for you. Why the Jesuits?
The Jesuits are quite
Famous?
famous in Vietnam in terms of
Famous or notorious?
because the Jesuits are one of the first missionary groups
Yes.
coming to the country,
Yeah.
and they at the beginning they really immerse themselves to the culture, tradition, and other practices. And one of the most important thing is they use the Latin alphabet, and then they Romanize our language.
Yes,
Before the
yes.
Vietnamese, we use Chinese character.
Yeah.
So based on the contribution of the Jesuits, now we have our own national
Yes.
script.
Also, the Jesuits are respected by
Yeah.
the Vietnamese people because of that.
Yeah.
And many other things, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was easy for you to decide the Jesuits.
Because the sample of immersing themselves and inculturating themselves to the cultures, and they really respect the locals.
Did you go to a Jesuit school?
Actually, in my country, we have
no Jesuit school.
no schools
That's
run
good to
by
know.
religions.
Yeah.
But
All
since,
government run.
since when I study catechism or history of the church in Vietnam, I learned about them and their contributions to the country. Yes, and I was so impressed because of their commitment to do mission in Vietnam.
Yes. What about you, Brother Robbie? If I ask you that question, what attracted you, or what made the Jesuits attractive to you? You mentioned when you were in first year,
Yeah.
somebody directed you, and you were that appealed to you.
Well, though I did study in
You were brainwashed here.
I actually wasn't attracted to religious life or Jesuit vocation
Okay.
because of Ateneo. I think it was precisely that experience of the spiritual
Okay,
exercises.
okay.
I think primarily the spiritual exercises. And then when the spiritual exercises opened up the possibility or that desire to become religious, that's when I began to explore, what should I... to be honest, I didn't know there was a difference between religious diocesan.
Oh, yeah.
I knew in theory there were different groups like Dominicans and everything, but I did not know the
Okay,
nuances of that. So when I was discerning, it was really out of convenience. The Jesuits were the people I knew.
You had Jesuit teachers, right?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, Jesuit teachers. Well, in grade school, at least our administrators, high school, my advisor was a Jesuit, and then your principal also.
Yeah.
Even in college, Jesuit teachers. But I think it was particular to the experience of the retreat.
Okay.
I guess it's the spiritual exercises that I can think.
From my experience, it was because of my closeness to some Jesuits that was influential, like Father Jack Carroll. You had Father Arnel Aquino, right?
Yeah, as a high school
teacher. How was he?
I was too young.
How was he as a teacher?
Very good. Very, very good. He used to teach us religion, but since we also needed help in other, he tutored us in English, math, and
Wow.
but it wasn't like he wasn't inspiring.
Yeah.
But I don't think the question of religious life was there in high school.
Wow. Okay, so information. Do you have any memorable, fond memories? What would be your? Because our viewers would like to understand what happens in formation. So, formation is long for the Jesuits. So, you have you learn philosophy, theology, and many other things, right? Regency as well. What's your favorite stage in formation? Theology, wow.
My favorite state information, I think, when I was living in the candidate's house, because that was the first time I had a chance to see the Jesuits, the director of the candidate's house and his assistants. And I was so surprised because their lives at that time were very simple and friendly. Because in the context of my country, priests they don't need to have to wash dishes after meals.
Okay.
But when I came there and I saw the director of the candidate house and other priests, they washed dishes after eating.
Wow.
And they really join with us at meals, because normally priests will be separated while joining meals. So for me, their samples really moved me.
Humility,
Humility and friendliness. So, and another thing is my first experience of confessing without a box. And I experienced how caring, how listening they are, and it's really inspired me to follow this way of life. So until now, when I recall my candidate's time, sometimes I just smile alone because very, very beautiful experiences.
Wow. So you were impressed by their example. Wow. What about here in Arupe? Does the rector wash his...
Yeah, in Arupe we do the same thing. But in Arupe I have
Not
another...
in Loyola House, huh?
Not in Loyola House. We don't want to get our hands
in Arupe, another experience is about internationality.
Yeah.
I have chance to stay with different brothers from different countries, and it's helped me to understand more about the world and Jesuit from different provinces and regions.
taste their food, right?
Yeah.
What about Brother Rob? You also stayed at Arupe, right?
I come to think of it, those were very fruitful years in Arupe because of internationality. I think it's something that we take for granted. No, when you live with someone, not someone, we were about 40 different
Wow.
Jesuits and different nationalities. But I would say if I look back, I'm most thankful for Regency years.
Yeah.
Especially 1 year I spent in Naga. You're from Naga.
Of course.
You know how beautiful the
The
place
beautiful place. Yeah.
But it's
Magayon.
it's really because of that stage in formation. I think that I was at a point wherein I really felt that the priesthood for me it was like a crossroads.
Yeah. Regency.
Regency, especially that 1 year in Naga, where I really felt I was deepening my discernment. I was really confronted with, do you want to
Continue.
or to stop?
Yeah.
And so just being in a place wherein life was very simple. The students were mababaw ang kaligaya.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
happy with anything. No?
Of course.
And then
We're the happy place.
okay.
Maugmang lugar. Bicol.
And then I was in a community of relatively older Jesuits,
Yeah, yeah.
but very, very edifying.
The oldest Jesuit is there. Is living there, yeah.
Aging gracefully, so
Yeah.
to speak. And just being in that space, in that part of my formation, I think brought me closer to prayer, to discernment, and I think that's why it's memorable for me.
So maybe Naga gave you a glimpse of the real Jesuit life, the community, the ministry, and all of that. Okay, very good. So I will tell. Of course, you still are in communication with them.
Yeah.
So Naga was very influential. Just to backtrack a bit, Regency, of course, it's that stage in our formation when we do not study but work. Right? Okay, simply put. Okay, so what about challenges? Like for example, Brother Robbie had to discern well whether to continue or not. What about you, Brother Peter? Any real difficult challenges you faced in formation? Your superior, for example.
Your brothers.
Your brothers.
Well, there are two things. First of all is about how to obey my superiors.
Yes.
Somehow the tension between my own idea, my own thinking,
Yeah.
and my superior thinkings and mindset. And because somehow I think because of the gap between generations, it may create misunderstanding.
Yeah, yeah.
And for me, it's quite difficult concerning living the vows of obedience.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is also the thing that I usually reflect on whenever I do the examen of conscience. Another thing is about collaboration with other Jesuits because in my own experience, I think the Jesuits, they are very successful in doing something alone.
Alone, yeah.
But when we come to work with one another,
Lone Rangers.
I myself also have difficulties in working with others. But through certain experiences, and especially reflect on the constant invitation of Father Generals about communal discernment, I learned from that.
Yes.
And that is also now still also I try my best to do that, learn from other fellow Jesuits.
What about the Philippines? Did you have to adjust a lot with the culture, with the food, with the weather?
For me, concerning the weather is the weather in the Philippines is quite the same. The weather in Ho Chi Minh
Vietnam.
City. For me, food I have no problem. I really much enjoy.
I can see that. We can see that.
Yeah.
I'll go to the gym tomorrow.
Yeah. So I have no problem with food, and one of my most impressive about the Philippines is about the ways of people when they express their faith. In 2017, when I was in Cebu for joining a gathering of the young Jesuits, and I joined a Simbang Gabi
wow.
celebration, and we got up at 3 a.m. and I
yes.
thought it's already early enough. But when I came there, so many people and no more chairs for us, and I can see how beautiful Filipinos people express their faith in different ways. So before I may think, oh, some kinds of superstition, but when I
folk religiosity,
when I came to see closer, especially during my apostolate in a poor sub parish in Liwanag, I understand that that is their own ways of expressing their faith to the Lord. And living in a Catholic majority country like the Philippines encouraged me, inspired me more, so that when I go back to my country, a Catholic minority country, I have more energy to do my mission.
Very good. Okay, so no difficulty at all in the Philippines. What about you, Father Robbie, in your formation?
I had no difficulty also in the Philippines.
What about losing in basketball games against Father Mon Bautista?
I don't have difficulty losing because I rarely lose. No, I'm kidding, because we play basketball together.
So
for Chin, it's obedience. For me, it's not obedience. It's really chastity and more of relationships. I think that it manifests first in community life. I'd be the first to admit I'm not the easiest to be in community.
Yeah, you're right there.
We were never in community together, so you have no right to comment. Chin could. Okay. But I think it's a part of my formation and my vocation that I have, especially at the beginning, appreciate first studies I struggled with, and I had to go through so much formation or purification, but also in dealing with.
But you have so many friends. I can see that. I'm impressed by that. Our basketball,
yeah, but I think it's different if you live together.
Yeah, but Peter, I'm always impressed. He's able to
bring people.
Yeah, bring people to play with us. Wow, he has so many friends.
Yeah, because I want to play.
So you're kind to them.
Second is I think family. I guess the typical image of chastity in terms of relationships outside of the community. Of course, attraction to other people. It's something we have to grapple with in this life, no? Because we have a vow of chastity, not to have any exclusive relationship, but to balance that with the human need for intimacy and these things. But also, as I mentioned a while ago, I'm quite attached to my family. I think it's something that I've recognized from the very beginning.
That's okay.
But you know what? The formation has helped me. My spiritual director, when I was in discerning, he will kill me for mentioning his name as Bros Flores, but I remember telling him, brother, I don't know if I can live out chastity. And then he said that the formation will help you. And I think that has been very, very true. I still struggle, but I look at myself at the very beginning and up to now, I think I have grown much in that also. So it's a struggle, but I know it's something I cannot completely eradicate, but I realize also I don't want to eradicate that. It's part of me and my vocation.
Yep, you're very correct there. But you were, any one of you, tempted to or entertain thoughts about leaving at some point of your Jesuit life? I was tempted several times, when, for example, you fight with your superior. No regrets at all, or were there points in your Jesuit life you entertained the idea living and doing something else?
For me, it used to happen, but it's not so strong. Since one time, I think my superior gave a wrong decision related to me. So the feelings of being abandoned, neglected, throwing away. But later on, I really appreciate in our Society of Jesus about spiritual direction. I came to see my spiritual director, and he really helped me to discern, to understand the situation, and then I can easily overcome that feelings. Yeah.
So that's how you recovered from that temptation. What about you, Brother Robbie?
Yeah, very clearly in Regency.
Yeah. Okay.
Actually, that's why Naga, that third year of Regency, was very significant for me, because that was a discernment year. I wanted to leave at the beginning. But I promised myself, I promised my superior, I promised God that
you give it a chance.
I'll give it a chance for 1 year. And of course, many things happened then. Many things. But one very clear help for me was the example of our older brothers, especially one elderly priest, Father Sammy. Father Sammy is a missionary.
Indonesia.
I wouldn't say he's very strong, but he can still he's still very active. And I remember one time just looking at him, he was tired, but he still continued hearing confessions for the high school students. And I said, that's the giving that I want to do. And I think it just awakened in me my original desires.
Yes.
In a very, very real sense, community life helped me.
Very good. Okay, so maybe this I have more or deeper questions. Like, for example,
Deeper? That's not deep enough. Okay.
those are just preliminaries. The deeper questions is so how long have you been a Jesuit scholastic? 11 years. 9 years. So maybe you can answer this question. What have you learned about yourself? Perhaps just one lesson about yourself. Yours, going through your strengths and weaknesses. What have you learned about yourself, Brother Peter?
Before entering the Society of Jesus, actually, in my study life, I got certain successful things, and somehow I thought that I can do everything with my own capacity. And when I entered the novitiate, the formation of the society really, step by step, helped me to understand myself, to see my weaknesses and limitations.
Yes.
Before I just see my capacity of doing many things, my talents, but in novitiate time, they have me to see another side of my person. And based on that thing, the formators have me to enter a deeper conversion, to know who I am. Actually, saying that does not mean that I am already fulfilled, but still on the journey of recognizing myself, my weaknesses, limitation, and continue to live an ongoing conversion.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Especially for the comprehensive exam.
Yes, that's beautiful. What about you, Brother? What have you learned specially about yourself through the years?
When you asked that, I remember the first night I had in the candidacy house pre-novitiate. We were in our viso house, and then our assistant director, guided us in an examen.
Who was that?
Chris Fajardo.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then he said, at the end of the day, a Jesuit is, of course we weren't Jesuits then, but a Jesuit is alone with his God. And I think that articulates for me the fundamental reality that I have experienced as a Jesuit. Not so much that community life is not important, other relationships are not important, but how there's a fundamental relationship that I have. And the more I think about it, it has really sustained me. And when I'm alone with God at the end of the day, I wouldn't say it's my favorite time of the day. But when I look back at the years, it's that one experience that has sustained me. At the end of the day, just going to a dark chapel and just sitting down and saying, Lord, I'm tired, and I don't feel okay, but to recognize the Lord is okay with me. And basta we're okay with one another, I think that's the one thing that's important for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I think related to what he said about just accepting your own weaknesses and your own self, that the Lord calls me. And it's okay not to be okay most of the time, as long as I can face the Lord and say that the Lord loves me. I'm trying to love the Lord, and that's the most important thing.
Amen.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a follow-up question, of course, related to what you have shared to that first question. This is a series of questions, deep questions. So
I
from
thought this hour will fly.
from that, from that question, what about God? What have you learned about God, about your personal God through the years? Information. Of course, that's a very personal question, but can you share anyway? Peter.
Before joining the religious life, my way of praying is like saying rosary, joining common activities of the parish. But in the Society of Jesus, the formator have me, especially through many retreats, they have me to have a personal relationship with God through personal reflection, meditation, and other things. So later on, I realized that God is not something too general, but he really a friend who patiently accompany me, especially whenever I feel painful, depressed, or getting any values in my life and mission. God is there, patiently wait and console me. So I am very much experiencing how patient God is for my limitation, for my weaknesses. He always be there, waiting, embracing, and forgiving. So somehow the relationship with God for me gradually become more personal.
So he is a very patient God, very forgiving God for you. Okay, what about you, Brother Robbie?
For me, many things come to mind. The gentleness of God, the compassion of the Lord, the being very personal, calling me by name. But the more dominant image and reality of God that I've come to realize in my formation is the Lord wants me to be free. And so I would say He's a freeing God, a God who desires only that I be free from all the slaveries that I had, the chains that I have as a person. So many baggages that I bring. It's like someone who really takes off the burden and says, "I'll take it for you." And but freeing also in the sense of choosing what's best for me, even if it means suffering and
Wow.
sacrifice.
Wow.
Diba? Get, diba?
Wow.
No, it's. I think that at the beginning of my formation, I needed a more gentle one, or beginning of my life.
Yeah.
But I've come to realize he challenges me.
Yes.
And the challenging is not to make me suffer, but it's precisely because he knows this is most freeing and fulfilling for me.
Wow.
So there.
Wow. Okay, a follow-up question, of
My
course, is, again, through the years, what have you, this one is about the Society of Jesus, okay? What have you learned about the Society of Jesus? Because you will be ordained as a deacon and later on as a priest of the Society of Jesus. So, what about the Jesuits? What have you learned about the Jesuits?
I'll answer.
Okay.
That, I didn't understand before when they said the society is or the church is a mother. I didn't understand. But I think that's what I've come to learn. The support, the encouragement, the nourishment, the mothering, no, the taking me into her embrace and saying, I will take care of you. I think that's the most fundamental reality that I've learned in formation. When I don't know about Chin, no, but when we were before we entered, I saw it as a group.
Yeah.
That I'm joining, more of a corporate body. That's it. I'm a member. I want to become a member. But now I realize it's a mother that nurtures me and that desires to do the mission of the Lord, but at the same time sees me as her mission also.
Wow. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, what about you, Peter?
For me, I come from a quite traditional and conservative society,
Yeah.
and somehow that situation really shaped my perspective. But when I joined the Jesuits, the Ignatian spirituality really teaches me how to be more open, to be more pastoral. Because through the encounter with many Jesuits, especially during the confession, I can experience how caring they are, how pastoral they are, rather than just simply being rigid based on law and whatever, strict things. But they really care and listening to me. And another thing is about the availability. I met some Jesuit brothers,
Yeah.
and they will not be priests,
Yes,
but
yes.
their life really inspired me by their edifying life, always ready for being sent for missions. And in the context of my society, people usually respect those who are priests, and
They
normally
put them on pedestals, but
normally
brothers.
neglect the brothers.
Yeah.
But when I see how peaceful their lives are, that really teaches me about the lesson of humility, and also the lesson of accepting who they are, and own for the greater glory of God. So that's really moved me.
I think there are many Jesuit brothers in Vietnam rather than
We
the
have
Philippines, correct?
more than 20.
Yes. Wow. Okay, so let me just greet our Facebook friend. So Anthony Perez, of course. Okay. What's your advice about his game?
Later we'll talk about that.
Okay, Anthony, si Julius din, nanonood din si Julius, di ba? Noel Ferrer, of course. Nag-abot ba kayo ni Noel Ferrer sa college? He was also director, Office of Student Affairs. So, Noel Ferrer. Hi, Noel. Good morning. Si Anthony sabi niya, father and basketball buddies. Jitter Sablay, magandang umaga po. Basketball buddies ngayong UAAP. Wednesday kasi undefeated ng Ateneo Blue Eagles. Yes. Meron mang laro ang Ateneo ngayong Wednesday?
No games.
No games. Ano na, di ba? Sabado na yata. Honey Rod, Robbie.
Oh, he's my secundus.
Oh, wow.
Shit.
Oh, wow. Nasa Sambuanga siya ngayon, right?
Yes, the wow, we have listeners all the way.
Yeah, of course.
Vietnam. Nanyan? There.
Because I haven't shared.
You should have shared this.
Si Lester Menjola, magandang umaga po. Jenny Chua, good morning. Justine, good morning. Rico Adapon. Nasa ba ngayon si Rico? Dito ka na eh. Akala ko Cebu. Robbie has grown and matured. Yes, ang tangkad-tangkad. Okay, so thank you so much. And of course, we have regular viewers from US and Canada, our Ateneo Alumni Associations there. Okay, so yes, of course. Sabi sa amin ni Justin, we average 10,000 views a week. Yes,
really?
So because this is recorded and you can
share it.
Yes, this is I can send you the link, because Facebook and also available on YouTube. That's how we save the episodes sa YouTube. Okay, so Father Archin Tengan, our provincial before, used to ask us during manifestation, what are your holy desires? So and that of course, talks about what's your dream as a Jesuit priest someday. Have you thought about that? Peter, come on, communications, come on. We're in this together, right?
Yeah.
So what's your holy desire if you're asked by your provincial?
Maybe I have many holy desires.
Sure, yeah.
But I think recently the things that I reflect much is about the desire of sharing my faith to the Vietnamese people, because the context of my country is we have just 7% of Catholics.
Only 7%. Wow.
So the words of the Lord, the harvest is plentiful, but just a few workers.
Few laborers.
Word still echoes in my mind and heart, and I really desire to, by a certain way, through the mission in the Society of Jesus, to share my faith in God to my fellow Vietnamese people.
Wow. So share the faith. 7%. What about the other Christian denominations?
Actually, Catholics, 7. Other Christians, they have lower.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, what about you, Brother Robbie? What's your holy desire?
My holiest is to see the face of God. I don't know.
Don't diet.
I'm not sure, to be honest. I think there are. I think I would want to be in the helping ministry, whatever form that takes. Of course, as Jesuits, we're all expected to help out with the spiritual exercises, but any form of helping, like even as a simple parish priest, as they would
missionary,
say, in confession. I think those are the things that come closest to my mind. But when I told the provincial, I'm actually open for most. There are just some that I think I might not be able to do. But I think also important for me is the need of the society.
Okay. So, wow. So what happens now? You'll be ordained October 26, right?
Yeah.
So between now and October 26, are there preparations?
Yes. Well, for the ordination, we have our very faithful scholastics from Loyola House in Arupe who are taking care of that. So, But really now more of academic.
Academic,
Because we have confession exams in 2 weeks. And we have
Oh wow! Before the ordination, my gulay. So what about you're supposed to go on retreat or something?
Yeah, the Triduum.
Triduum.
When will you do that?
For Loyola House, it's on next week. You the weekend before, no?
Yeah, from 18 to 21.
So that's the spiritual preparation.
Yeah.
Okay. And then after the ordination, 6 more months, and then priesthood. Wow. Time will fly so fast.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe you can talk to the young people watching us like Anthony. Maybe invite them or something to look into this Jesuit vocation, to look into the Society of Jesus and the possible life here. Yeah, Brother Robbie?
Anthony? Only Anthony? No, to all the ones who are even considering something other than what you're doing now. No, it's really meaningful, and I just suggest you try it out because if it's for you, it can be the most freeing experience in your life.
So for me, first of all, thank you very much for following our stories. And if you feel any, even very little inspiration or feelings about religious life, just come here to see the Jesuits, especially Father Nono. Yes, just come and see. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So once again, the ordination is happening on October 26, 8:30 a.m. It's a Saturday at the Church of the Jesuit. Can anyone just come?
Yeah, the mass is
Open.
Yeah.
Okay. So, yan po. So, thank you so much.
Thank you very
for our two Jesuit, ano yung sabi mo kanina?
I don't remember.
Deacon-elects?
No, someone told me that. I forget.
Deacon-elect.
Parang bishop.
Okay. Parang politiko. Okay, so we thank them and please, my dear friends, mga katipuneros, please pray for them, okay? As they continue to prepare for their ordination on October 26. Maraming salamat po. Hanggang sa susunod, hanggang next week na po, no? This has been the Jesuit Hour and this is Father Nono Alfonso S.A. See you.
The Jesuit Hour. Get to know the Jesuits. Discover their spirituality, their history, their ministries. The Jesuit Hour. Anything Jesuit, everything Jesuit. The Jesuit Hour.